When you're managing your offshore team, communication is going to be the number one priority. I've been an owner of an offshore team for over 12 years now, and during that time I've worked remotely here in the US. So I think that a lot of people and a lot of our clients have concerns about how they're going to manage their team overseas. When you're hiring here in the US, especially nowadays, you really need to be flexible about work in office or work from home. So a lot of our clients are business owners that have remote teams locally here in the US. They've got 5, 6, 8, 12 employees, and they're all remote, and they come together every once in a while. And then the business owner, when they're thinking about how to build a team overseas in the Philippines or elsewhere, they're wondering how they're going to do that. They know how difficult it is to manage the team here in the US, and how are they going to manage a team of 5, 6, 10, 20 people in the Philippines? And the first step is to have them in the office. But how do you do that? How do you manage a remote team that's in the office in the Philippines while you're working remotely here in the US? I'm going to tell you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned over my decade plus of running a team remotely in the Philippines, and I'm going to tell you some of the mistakes I've learned from along the way, and some of the learnings that I've made to make that a successful transition. I think that it's a lot easier than people fear, and I've seen that success with a lot of our clients as they've grown from a handful of employees to offices with 30 plus people and in some cases 50 plus people. It is possible, and I'm going to show you how on this episode. When you're managing your offshore team, communication is going to be the number one priority. So first of all, you want to make sure that you're leveraging all the technology that's available to you. When I first started, it was all about Skype. And of course, nowadays people don't use Skype, but in the beginning, that's what it was. And nowadays, you're going to want to make sure you're leveraging all of the different technologies. So, I have a Slack channel. I've got WhatsApp numbers. We do Zoom meetings all the time. We even have U.S. phone numbers for our team members in the Philippines. We're utilizing all of the different channels and determining what's the best use case during those different times. So you're going to want to have a regular cadence of communication. You're going to want to have weekly or bi-weekly meetings with your team, and then you're going to want to have daily touch bases with your team. And obviously those are originally going to be thought of as emails, and that's true, but you're also going to want to have personal face-to-face or at least voice-to-voice communication. And so that means communicating to them with on Slack messages or Google Voice or Google Chat as well, and really having real-time communication with your team. I know that for some of our clients, they're concerned about whether or not the time difference, overnight shift versus day shift, and how they should handle that, if they should try and do a day shift in the Philippines, which ends up being a night shift in the US. And I really tell my clients, you do the setup that works best for you and your company. So if your company requires real-time communication, then I think that you guys should be working in alignment on that. They should be working the overnight shift in the Philippines, which is day shift here in the US, unless for some reason you're an odd company that does the opposite. But for 99% of our clients, that's the case. And when you're hiring those people in the Philippines, you want to make sure that they understand what the work requirements are. And if that's an overnight shift, then they're going to be very happy to do that, or else they're not going to take the position. So having regular communication that happens during normal business hours is important. In addition to those regular Zoom meetings and regular touch bases, I also have my immediate staff and direct reports have WhatsApp numbers so that we can message each other instantaneously that way. So if I'm out at a meeting or if I'm on a job site or at a conference, they can message me on WhatsApp right away and get a hold of me. Additionally, I have for all of my employees that are communicating with clients, they have US phone numbers so that our clients can reach out to them with a phone call as well. And so if you are able to maximize the communication, really go in hard on that, you're going to be able to really improve the team in the Philippines as far as they're feeling like they're connected and they're not left out on an island, pun intended, and to make sure that they're doing a good job out there. And really, when communication's happening, it makes everything so much easier. And so some of our clients, when they start out with this, they hire a admin assistant or something like that right off the bat. They've got somebody there. And then they think that they're just going to throw a bunch of work at them and they're going to talk to them at the end of the week. And depending, in very rare cases, is that going to be successful? If you've got like some weird situation where you've got a whole bunch of work that's going to take them 40 hours to do, maybe that's possible. But for most employees and in most work cases, they're going to need to be talking to you or at least some sort of supervisor on a very regular basis. And so setting up processes and chain of command so that happens is really going to be vital to the success of your team. And then if you're doing that, the employee is going to really feel good about their work situation. They're going to feel like they're being supported. They're going to feel like they're part of the team. They're going to feel like they understand what's going on, and that's going to really help the culture and the good feelings of your team, and that's going to make them want to stay longer and feel committed to the company and the mission that you guys have. And so it has a lot of benefits there. Communication is the key. You really need to do a lot to overemphasize or over communicate and emphasize having an open communication within your company. First point and my biggest key for managing an overseas team is communication. After communication, I think really is setting clear expectations and goals for your team. So when you're communicating to your team on what you want them to do, you really want to be clear about that. And you want to talk about goals in a way that are concise and manageable and really are understood by the team. So you've heard of SMART goals, I'm sure, and we can list here exactly what that is. But the idea is you want to have goals that really show what success looks like, and taking larger goals and breaking that down to smaller goals so that there's a progression of achievement for your team. I think that what I've seen with some of our clients is they throw a huge project at their team and they give them a little bit of guidance or a little bit of a tutorial or something like that, and then they come back in a week and they're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted at all. As opposed to trying to break that down along the way with regular check-ins and really kind of following that process as it goes to the final completion. And as you do that, the team's going to learn exactly what you want. They're going to make some adjustments or pivots along the way to get where you want to go. And I think sometimes clients learn that with the remote team and the skills that they have and everything, there might be a different path to success than from what they're usually used to. And sometimes that path is shorter and better. And so you want to kind of see how that follows. And you do that a couple of times, and then you can be a little bit more hands-off and be like, all right, we've gone down this path before, and we know how to get to the end, and therefore I can give them the project and I can be comfortable that that's gonna happen. So really kind of setting expectations about where you want to go and then having goals along the way to get you to that final conclusion really is important. And I think part of my overall management style with my team, we set goals every quarter that we look at every month, and we follow up every week. And those goals then are driving towards expectations that we've all set together as a team. And so that's the way I work with my team, and I think that's really been successful and something that I've seen with a lot of clients as well. And so I would really suggest that you implement that with your team as well. Once you got your team working and they're functioning and you're communicating, really the next level to really upgrade your team is starting to build a relationship with your team. So obviously everyone knows that culture and having a team attitude, a family attitude, if you will, really is the ideal for every company. Now, of course, there's companies that are successful that are just, driving the whip and driving results out of the team. But I think that that's not good for long-term success. You can do that for a week or two, but that's not going to happen for months and years at a time. And so the best teams that I see amongst our clients, and what I try to do with our own team as well, is to really try and build a relationship between the US team and your offshore team. That includes understanding the culture that the team has, and in the Philippines, luckily, a lot of that culture is really aligned with the Western culture of the US. But in addition to that, there are some nuances. There's nuances around Easter and Christmas and other holidays and what's really culturally important in the Philippines might have less importance or different importance in the US. And so understanding that and really kind of being empathetic of that and leaning into that is not only the right thing to do, but it's also going to really improve your relationship with your team. So I think it's an easy hack. Just be a good guy. Be understanding of what the culture is of your team and lean into that. And then once you've really kind of leaned into the culture, the next step is to try and visit your team. If you're able to do an on-site visit with your team, I guarantee you that your relationship with your team is going to go from an 8 to a 10. When they see you sit down with them and you break bread and you start talking about your everyday life and your families and what's going on with your life, with your kids and all that, and you learn about them and what they're doing and what their hopes and dreams are. It's really then when you start to go from just employees that are trying to check the boxes for you to employees that really care about your team. And I think that for a lot of our clients, when they first start with us, the idea of visiting their team overseas in the Philippines is just crazy. I mean, they were only thinking about just finding an admin to handle their calendar. But to really have a relationship where you're talking to your team about what's going on in your lives and what you're trying to accomplish globally or in a macro sense is really the difference, a difference maker, because now everyone's working together because they know the backstory, they understand what's going on, and they feel like the management team is really cares about them and vice versa. And I'm not saying that the people won't move on, but there's going to be a respect and a bond there that can't happen any other way. And so that's why we've had dozens of clients come and visit their teams in the Philippines, and I've seen the result of those visits and how their teams are fully committed to the clients at that point. And the opposite is true as well. The management teams that come over are then really understanding the employees and how they're committed to the work. And you really end up getting that cohesiveness that you want between your management team and your employees. If you're listening to what I'm saying and you're thinking, oh my God, this is impossible. This is so difficult. How am I going to do this? I had somebody on Upwork and I don't know, I barely knew who they were. I couldn't communicate. They didn't want to communicate with me. And we were just happy to get quality work out of them. What I would tell you to do is think about partnering with an agency, maybe somebody like Tahche, but generally just some agency that can help facilitate that relationship, starting with the communication, making sure you have all the communication technology and equipment and everything in place to allow that to happen, and then able to facilitate visits to the team, or having the team come and visit you, facilitating the visas associated with that, and creating a culture internally that says these are relationships that you want to have. And so that is being your person on the ground to create the best opportunity or the best working conditions for your team. If you're just trying to do it on your own through Upwork or some other freelancing type of website, it's going to be very difficult to create that culture and that work environment that really portrays to your employee that you really care about them. They're not going to have a Christmas party, and they're not going to have benefits that they want. They're not going to be able to do after work activities. They're not going to be able to do all those things because it's just impossible to do in a freelancer type of scenario. And so if you have a partner like Tahche that's facilitating that stuff, you're going to be in a much better place. And so partners like that not only do the usual stuff, or some of them don't, but the good ones at least are doing the payroll and the HR and the IT and the legal stuff. And that should be like the table stakes that you're looking at. But then also, is that partner treating your staff properly? Are they doing company culture stuff like Christmas parties and summer parties and stuff like that? Are they doing things throughout the year to create a positive environment? Are they making sure that the employees are getting everything that they need and then some, so that they really feel like they're being taken care of? And when that happens, that's going to really, I think, create a relationship between you and your team where they don't want to leave and you don't want to get rid of them. That's, I think, the benefit of working with a good agency. And I'd encourage you to look at Tahche and what they have to offer. This video has kind of opened your eyes a little bit on what is possible with your team overseas, that it's not just, a random person in a basement here and a random person working out of their bedroom here, and that you can really have an overseas team that is part of your team, that you guys are one company, that this is your office in the Philippines, that they're wearing your shirts and your names on the wall, that it's your global presence. And I think that once you kind of see that vision, the sky's the limit. You can have not only 3 or 4 people, but you can have 40 people. It's really up to you on how big that team is, and you can create a team that is cohesive globally, that really cares about each other, that your management team knows the team in the Philippines, and you create a bond there that is not possible if you just have random people working out of their basements or dining rooms or whatever throughout the world. So if you found that helpful, do us a favor and hit that like button, or if you got any questions, put a comment down there. We love having conversations and trying to further communicate about how we think having a team in the Philippines should function. Also, share this with your friends. We'd love to get the word out to more and more people. And obviously, we'd love to have you subscribe. So all of that stuff helps us get the word out to everyone about working within the Philippines and really helping the great people of the Philippines. So until next time, I'm Bryan Luoma. This is the Philippine Business Playbook Podcast, and we'll talk to you later.